the most important scale we ever learn. From the simplest one-chord jam to the weirdest outside substitution, it's often the only scale we need. It's amazing. But it took me years and years before I really felt on top of it. I want this lesson to be therapy to pentatonists everywhere. And I'm going to make the argument that rather than learning it all academically, if we really want to master this musical foundation, we need to forget it. When I first started playing, I dreamed of being free to improvise all across the guitar neck, as easily as humming or whistling a tune. The first thing you learn is that there's a bunch of scale shapes, right? There's 5 positions of the pentatonic scale that you have to cover the whole neck with. But that, for me, seemed like a load of visual baggage in my way. It was so illogical, and it is so illogical. Because of the tuning of the top 2 strings, the scale shapes all seem so arbitrary, really difficult to remember. And so I did the same thing as most players do. I get into a comfort zone where there's a few shapes, a few boxes that you end up playing in, and you learn a bunch of licks in those places, and then you end up stuck in a box. We need a way out, and my way out was allowing my ears to make the decisions, not my eyes. We're going to learn the pentatonic scale by singing. What? You ask? I'm not a singer. I'm not comfortable singing. Well, you are now. We're going to sing, and we're not going to worry about it. We're not going to judge ourselves. It's not about how well in tune you can sing or what your voice sounds like. It's about connecting your ear to your voice. If you can sing it, you can hear it. If you can hear it, you can sing it. And if you can sing it and hear it, and if your fingers get used to it, then you can play it, and you can play it freely. And that's what we're going to try to do, right? So if this is the first time singing, enjoy it. Here we go. We're going to play E minor pentatonic. It's the biggest guitar cliche of all time. E minor pentatonic is also G major pentatonic. We're going to start from the note G because it's comfortable for most people to sing. We're going to sing like this. La, 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 la. If we play it at the same time, we can go la, 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 la. Get used to this. That's the idea. We're going to get so used to it, we're bored of it. It's going to get stuck in our ears. Now, if that was too low to sing, we can sing it up an octave for those with higher voices. All together now. La, 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 la. Let's try to connect both octaves up. If you get uncomfortable, just switch to an octave where you can sing it fine. This is not a test. Here we go. La, 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 la. By now, the sound of the scale should be getting into your ears. We were also playing a scale shape. As you could see, we were playing the shape around the 3rd fret. We're now going to forget about scale shapes completely, and we're just going to play along one string. Why? Because we're going to practice following our voice. Let's start here, where we started before, the 3rd fret of the low E string, the note G, and we're going to sing and play at the same time, only along the bottom E string. Here we go. La, 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 la. Right? This is the point where you might be asking the question, how do I know where to put my fingers? Well, the answer is I don't really. I'm just following by ear. And you need to not be afraid to make mistakes. This might happen. La, la. What you really want is la, la. Okay? So if you go la, la, then don't worry about it. It's a process of trial and error, trial and improvement. If you make a mistake, just find the correct note and try it again, and try it over and over again. La, 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 la. Okay, that went wrong. La, la, la. There it is. And then after a while, you get the habit of associating the sound in your ears, the sound you're singing, with what you're playing on the guitar. Okay? Let's move on. Let's go to the G string. So now you've got the sound of the pentatonic thoroughly in your ears and you're comfortable experimenting along one string to find it. We're going to improvise something. Pick a string and see what happens. Here we go. I'm going to pick the D string, right? Okay, let's move on. Next string, G. So I hope that process gives you an experience of improvising purely by ear along one string. That's a horizontal way of playing a scale. But of course, we still have the job of learning the scales vertically, as in across all of the strings. It is essential after all, and we still need to practice our scales, if only for the sake of our hands, because we need to develop the muscle memory if we're actually going to play anything. So now we can bring all of that aural knowledge back to the process of learning the 5 shapes of the pentatonic. In reality, you can teach yourself. Look at this. La, 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 la. Okay? La, la. Trial and error. La, 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 la. And so you're getting around the awkwardness of the guitar. So that's the first shape. The goal is exactly the same, which is to connect our ear with our fingers as we play across all of the strings. I'm going to show you the shapes above. Some people refer to this as the cage system, but the way I think about it is just knowing what key you're in. When we're playing E minor pentatonic, we can use that for pop songs in G major. E minor and G major are one and the same. So an easy visual cue for where the scale shape might be as we learn it by ear is where the G major chord shapes are. One by one, here we go. So we can call this the D shape. This is the C shape. So I'm connecting it back to G major all the time. The other thing that's really useful to know is, where's E? If you're thinking E minor, there's your E, there's your G. You do that for every shape, right? G. That's the pop key that you're in. But if you're playing E minor, where's your E? Well, it's here. There's only 5 shapes, not that much ground to cover, but you can get a huge amount of use out of them by thinking about them in those ways. Let's continue, right? If that was our C shape, where's the next G major chord we can find? It's here. So we could call this the A shape. People don't play that very often, but they should. There's some good bends to be found there. The next one is perhaps the one that we all know the best. It's the G shape. We don't associate it with G because we don't play that chord shape very often. We associate it with E minor. And then we're back to where we started. Which is the same as here. 5 shapes. It's not really that much to learn. But what's really important is the more of it you can figure out yourself, the more of it that you can work out your own way, the easier it's going to stay in your mind. This is the point where it gets really exciting because we can start to move between positions and cover lots of ground on the guitar. And the easiest way to move between positions is to slide. This is where you just have to go wild. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be embarrassed not to land where you expect to land. It's the only way to discover where things are on the guitar. After practicing playing and singing together for a long time, I had a joyful epiphany when I realized that I had no idea which position I was playing anymore, and I really had forgotten the minor pentatonic. And at that point, I could get on with making music with it. I'm going to play some E's on the bass for E minor. I'm going to play some G's on the bass for G major. But the scale for you is the same. Explore the guitar and don't be afraid to get lost. Because getting found again is the process through which you learn. See you on the other side.